Hey guys, and welcome to this review of Chef Julian, the season 3 finale. Let's get into it. This episode opens up with Mo and Milan. It's the aftermath of taking the company away from Julian. Mo is mentally exhausted, drained, she's guilt-ridden, and Milan, on the other hand, is just wanting to keep everything moving forward. She wants Mo to just stop tripping about what happened. She tells Mo in that moment, that Julian used you, he took you for granted, he has a hold on you, you just gotta shake it off, etc. So I feel like in this episode, Milan, everything she was saying to Mo about, having to cut a person out of your life when they treat you badly, I feel like she was really talking about her experience with her ex-husband. She kind of projects all of that on to Mo, hoping that Mo will suck it up and come on and let's get this business started. And it doesn't really work because, again, Mo is just not in a good place. This thing is really deep for her. And so, yeah, Milan's curse, spell, voodoo, priestess stuff, it doesn't work this time. Maybe Milan could tell that her words weren't working because I guess then she tried a little comedy and she told Mo that, look, we just lost our mascot and we just need to get another one. She called Julian a mascot, y'all. So she's like, well, we just need to find us another Julian. And Mo's like, really? And, she doesn't seem gung-ho about it, but that's the plan. Milan is going to get on the phone and call the casting agent so they can start auditioning these fake Julians. So in this scene, we are really seeing the very polar opposite of how both of these ladies were impacted by what happened to Julian. And of course, the experience would be very different because just look at the two women in the two situations with Julian. Mo is 10 years into this dude with an on-again, off-again relationship, an intimate relationship. From the footage in this episode where Mo was looking at some old footage, you could tell this was like when they were teens. And I don't know if it was like some kind of auction or whatever, but Julian was a person standing up there by her. Mo was saying about Julian like 10 years ago. Mo was even saying then that Julian is a person with high integrity and high self-esteem and high motivation. And I'm looking at that, man, my heart is hurting for her because I'm thinking even way back then, she saw in Julian the things that weren't really there, but what she wanted to be there because she wanted him so badly to be the one. She's been doing that for 10 years. So, of course, Moes Experience is going to be drastically different from Milan's, who just met Julian fairly recently through a dating app when he was in his celibacy stage after his STD scare. Yeah, Julian. Then we go to Julian and Wendy. Julian is just stressed the fuck out. He's really not divulging anything to Wendy. Wendy finally gets him to talking when she tells him that, hey, your business partner hit me up and, she told me about Talisa and everything about the business. And so Julian tries to deflect like with that, what's so that's what we're doing now? You're meeting with her behind my back? She just deflected all that shit back onto him. And she's like, yeah, I know you haven't been staying here every night, so I would like to know where you've been sleeping. She was like bracing herself to hear what she didn't want to hear. And that thing was if he said anything about crashing at some female's house. So he told her to come with him and he walks her out to the car. He tells her that's where he's been staying. She's sympathetic. He tells her that they took his business. She offers him to stay with her temporarily, and he is just so relieved. He's so relieved about her offer. I wanted more from Julian. He just didn't express enough emotion in that scene. If the point of it is that Julian really hasn't changed, then he did fine, because his acceptance of Wendy's offer so quickly, his obvious relief. He's used to women taking care of him, and so when this woman stepped up and offered to take care of him, it just feels like, it feels like home to him. That's what he's used to. And I believe in order for Julian to be a better person, he has to break that habit. But so far, he hasn't. After Julian tells Wendy about Moe and Milan taking the business from him, she tells him that she knows a lawyer. She also tells him, full disclosure, she and the lawyer used to date. Julian decides just to go another route and try to find his own lawyer because he's not trying to mix up with any lawyer that used to date Wendy. Well, he tries, it doesn't work, so he ends up with the lawyer who used to date Wendy. So they're at the lawyer's office, and so when the lawyer comes in, you know, he hugs Wendy, tells her she looks good, tells her she smells good, you know. Julian, of course, felt the need after the first initial introductions to make sure that he knew that he was Wendy's boyfriend. And the lawyer tells Julian, basically, you have three options on the table. One, you can let Moe and Milan just continue and let them use the name Chef Julian. Julian is against that. The second option was to, for both Julian and the ladies to use the name Chef Julian and file in the court some guidelines and limitations with regards to how they're both supposed to use it. Julian was also against that. The third option, which the lawyer said was the more aggressive option, which was just to flat out sue to get all your rights, get all your shit back, you're going to have to straight up sue. All three options on the table. He wasn't really excited about any of the options. Wendy's body language through this whole meeting was so funny to me because she was giving him looks like, what the fuck you mean you don't want to do that? So the lawyer then gave Julian a fourth option. I like to call that the Pretty Ricky option. He told Julian, you need to have a conversation outside of the courts with these ladies. Use your suave, use your charisma, use your charm to basically get these women to do what you want. And the lawyer tells Julian, now you're going to have to swallow your pride to try to get this done, but this is what you need to do. And I'm thinking, honey, Julian doesn't have to swallow his pride to do that because that's Julian's M.O. So then we go to Moe and Milan, who are auditioning Chef Julian mascots. Y'all, oh my God. So the first dude comes up and I'm like, oh Lord, not today. I didn't even like the look, the comparison. Just, no. And when this dude started talking, you giving us a fake Julian with a fake ass Mike Tyson voice. Nope. Next turns out to be a white dude who says he's actually black. The white guy is like, I am black. And Moe is like, sir. And he said, my great grandmother was black. And Moe tells him, and she was probably owned by your great grandfather. Next. She did that next like Kaya, like next caller. All she needed was a gavel. So the final guy that comes up is a guy from Philly. He's charismatic. He would have been the best choice for the next Chef Julian mascot. Oh my God, she called him a mascot, y'all. Milan called Julian a mascot. Moe got a text from Julian who wanted to meet up and talk about everything that was going down. Moe goes to meet Julian. Julian is very apologetic. Julian tells Moe that, you know, we need to do what's in the best interest for us. And Moe tells him, Julian, you don't have to lie. She said, I've always known that your MO is that you are going to do what is best for Julian. Moe is telling him this. Daryl told Julian this. And Ty, in essence, told Julian this. All of these people who have been in Julian's life long term are all saying the same thing. Okay? Just remember that. They're all saying the same thing. They've known Julian for years. And they're telling him things that he's doing now in the present day is representative of his MO, where at the end of the day, everything is about what Julian wants. So Moe acknowledges that she's been lying to herself about Julian's intentions towards her. Julian tells Moe, I should have been more upfront about Wendy. And Moe tells him real quickly that this really isn't even about Wendy. And Julian then acknowledges that over the past 10 years, he's often treated Moe like shit. And then he says, but it wasn't my intention to hurt you. And she's like, but you did. You know, this is the thing that happens in these situations, right? I have a good friend, y'all. This guy was my friend back at the ages of these people in these series in the 20s. You know, you're hanging out stage or whatever. And he was just so good for this. He really could have been he really was a Julian, because he felt as long as he told the women what he was there for, then, you know, he felt like he was absolved. So my whole point with all of that has always been, yes, you get points for being upfront about what you want, but you do not get absolved from the hurt that you can cause when you know you're trying to be extremely casual, or you are extremely casual with someone who is really investing more into you with their heart and their emotions, and you know it. If you're going to be a hoe and you got a lot of people on your roster, just go out there and be a hoe with those people. You don't have to do that to the one or two or however many, the ones who were more serious at one point in time. Mo tells Julian to go to your lawyer, tell your lawyer that I am giving you back everything. You can have the name of your company, you can have your trademark. I don't want it. And the only thing Mo wants from Julian at this point is that she wants Julian to just stay out of her life. And so she, you know, she walks away and he's like, Mo, and she turns around and she's like, goodbye, Julian. And it feels like it is a very final goodbye. I hope for her sake it is, but we'll see. We'll see. So after she walks off and Julian sits back down on the park bench, puts his toothpick back in his mouth. Well, we gotta have a toothpick. But anyway, he has a toothpick. Puts his toothpick back in his mouth, and boy, you can see that smirk, that relief, that joy again. Julian wins again. You know, don't worry about that woman who's walking off, who's been in your life for 10 years, who's devastated, crushed. You know, let's not take this as a moment to reflect on, boy, I have really done some fucked up shit to a person that I really care about. No, let's not take any time to reflect on that. Let's just have the smirk of, I won again. I got my way. I'm Julian, king of the fuckboys. The series fast forward a month. Julian is still temporarily staying at Wendy's. I really thought that Black and Sexy TV was gonna like finally give us the you know, sex scene with Wendy and Julian since they reconnected, because, you know, there's been no sex between the two of them, but they didn't. So then there's a knock at the door, and it's a guy who serves papers to Julian, and it's from Milan, who is suing him. And Julian is shocked. Wendy appears to be shocked. Julian, of course, is upset. Like he always is. And I'm just sitting there thinking, you must be kind of slow, Julian. Did you really think that you were just gonna walk off into the sunset with this Chef Julian company after Milan has made a financial, and from what she said, a significant financial investment? You knew Milan was not just walking away, so you should have known this was coming. I mean, you should have been doing extra rides and all other kind of stuff to get your bank up, because you should have known this was coming. You think Milan just gave you that investment? Because one thing about Milan, I think, is hell-bent on not being taken for granted again by any man in any setting, be it personal, business, or whatever. She's not here for it. So, yeah, so that's where the season finale ends. Milan serves papers to Julian to say, I'm going to sue your ass because I invested too much of my time and money into this company to walk away with nothing, and that should have been expected. So that was the end of the season finale for season 3. And we see that we're going to get a Wendy and Julian series. I'm here for it. I am here for it because I am anxious to see what's going to happen with this couple.